Looking for some new podcasts to listen to? Well, Rat Salad Review Network has plenty of shows to choose from. Like Rat Salad Review, where they discuss the latest rock and metal news, as well as interviews and albums. Album vs. Album, the King Diamond Podcast, with Wayne Noon, Greg Noggle, and sometimes this guy.
Smack 'em a gob!
Ralph Vieira is also on our network with the Vieira Vault. There's also Old Man Metal's Musings, where he discusses heavy metal and beer. Music is Life with Lou Mavs. The Right Opinion for those who love politics. A South Park podcast called Suck My Balls. The Infinite Fringe, a watch-along wrestling show called Beyond Bushido. Ex-Stradivarius guitarist, the Timo Tolkki podcast. And the Great Harry Barnett with I Don't Even Like Podcast and the Laughcast. So check out ratsaladreview.com or search Rat Salad Review on YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and more.
I got some stories about my West Virginia grandma. We could do a whole fucking show about her.
That sounds really fun, actually.
The West Virginia Grandma Podcast.
That's right. Tying her alcoholic husband up in the shed for 3 days in there shitting his pants. I'll never do it again, I swear. Let me out.
Give us that story, because let me have like a little intro to
the
show.
title of that episode, that could be this month. It could be worst Easter ever, since he was tied up for 3 days.
Oh, man. Oh. Yeah, don't come home drunk. Don't come home drunk. Kids. Don't be kicking the dog and acting up, because my granny would tie you up and put you in the shed for days. And he'd be asking his sons, Danny, David, come on, let your old paw out, let me out. And they knew they had the fear of God in them. They weren't going to touch that lock.
Hell no.
Anyway, yes, I have a very interesting life.
Yes.
Cold, hard street justice.
So I'm not nearly as badass as Grandma was, but, you know, I'd try.
He's got to be frozen like that. Welcome to Album vs. Album. What's going on, everybody?
Hey!
Hey.
Finishing pizza.
We're isolated.
Everybody talk at once. I know, still. I mean, come on. God. When are we ever going to get back to real life? Are we ever going to get back to real life?
Well, I don't want to get the COVIDs.
Remember shows.
Yeah. No, somebody in Tracy's, the building, the retirement home she works in has it now.
Really?
And I'm like, oh, great.
Oh, man, that sucks.
Yeah, my friend just went through it. He had it for like 18 days.
Ooh.
And he's finally just starting to feel better. He never got tested or anything because he really couldn't. They told him to go to a hospital, and everybody at that hospital is pretty much dying. So he's like, I'm not going there. I'll just stay.
Well, that's the funny thing about here. They're like, go get tested, but there's no tests.
There's no test and there's no cure. So why are you going to get tested, honestly, really?
It's like the old joke, you can't get there from here.
Right. And then the sad thing is, one of his friends ended up dying from it. So
I have a few friends of friends. I got a friend whose cousin died. I got a friend whose brother died. I have a friend whose husband is in the ICU, intubated in a coma. But I let her know about Will Carroll from Death Angel. You know, that he was in a coma for 12 days on a ventilator, and he lived to tell the tale. So it can happen. Yeah. So, you know, tell my friend Leanne, don't give up hope. It's her ex-husband, father of her children. So giving her a shout out.
That's right. Don't give up, Leanne.
He pulled through. That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. All right. Well, today, Lisa, we're having you on the show again. This is like the third time.
This is so fun.
I know, right? You might as well just be a regular. If we never go back to real life, we might as well just stay on the show.
All right.
Yeah. But,
I'm in.
But talk about your album real quick. White Crone.
We may be looking here, footsteps you never hear.
Crone. Everybody,
Yes,
please go
thank
buy this
you.
album.
Thank you very
You
much.
will
for
like this album. You will
like
tell a friend.
It's old school.
Good shit.
Vinny Appice is on this album. You did a cover of a Venom song, The Seven Gates of
Amen.
Hell. And if you like Merciful Fate, Judas Priest, all that, 80s really cool stuff, you would like this album. And where could people go buy your album, Lisa?
You can find it at whitecrone.bandcamp.com. You can also find it at musicmillennium.com. And it's Amazon, iTunes, Spotify. Please add me on Spotify. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's just youtube.com/whitecrone. So please, let's all subscribe to each other's channels.
That's
You
right.
follow me on Twitter, funny enough.
I done did.
Yep.
Of course. And what is your
I'll be
Twitter
back.
handle? It's just White Crone, right? At
Who,
White
me?
Crone.
White Crone. At White Crone. Crone. It's not chrome like the metal. It's crone like I'm fucking old.
See, everybody could see it
And
there.
that's-
White Crone.
And that's
Hey.
why. Yes, and that's why it sounds old school, because I am the unfrozen cave woman of metal.
And there is Lisa on the
You
back
and
of the album
Guar
cover
both.
with your bass and your guitar, right?
Cool.
Yes. My 6-string bass and my 7-string guitar.
Good shit. Go buy
I
it.
like lots of strings.
Yeah. But we had you on the show, and we told you to pick 2 albums that you really wanted to do. And
I
you
like
picked
your taste.
Anthrax and Exodus.
Oh, yeah.
The debut albums of both bands.
That's right.
Why?
Well, because they were...
Hey, Wayne, mine
Oh,
are bigger.
Yeah, that's
I've got more of them.
Mine were cassettes, so
Bigger-
they sounded
bigger-
like crap.
yeah.
Oh, God.
Bigger versions of the ugliest album covers ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And will you notice, hold up the Anthrax cover. Will you notice that both hands are left hands?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, the other hand on the top. You know what? Yeah, that's...
God, that's dumb
yeah.
shit. I love it.
Oh, yeah. But you know what?
And then the
I-
fingernails on the evil twin.
And the fucking blanket
Oh,
they're pulling out of the background.
the blanket, and they look like miniature, like little tiny, things.
I like that one.
It's a huge blanket.
It's corny.
It is corny.
I don't know.
That's
The one
the
they have
80s,
on
you know?
the baseball tee is the best one. The one where it's the
I kinda
silhouette
like
of the
this
band
one,
with the
though.
blood down on them. Oh, yeah.
Yes,
It's so bad, it's good.
Right.
The Exodus
It's-
one is the best one out of all of them, even though it's very
Oh, yeah.
wrong.
Oh, it's cheesy, but I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I
It
mean, I
definitely
picked them
fits the
because,
album.
yeah, they were part of my life. I mean, I was, like I said, I'm old, and I wasn't in the Bay Area, but I was in Portland, and I was a very young, crazy kid in the mosh pit. I was like the 13-year-old kid that, hey, pick her up, she flies.
That they struggled not to
You know?
kill.
I'm the one they couldn't keep out of the mosh pit. So, I mean, these bands would come up, and they'd come through town. And so I got to see Exodus at that time. I got to see Exodus live with Paul
Wow.
on vocals. I got to see Anthrax early on when they came over to the West Coast, and nobody fucking knew who they were, So, I was blessed to mosh to these bands live and to hear these albums when they were first coming out, when they first came out, and like, hey, check this new band out. I was back in the day when we were trying to figure out how to pronounce Metallica, because we were like, is it Metallica? How do you- So that-
Everyone's walking around
like-
sounding like a Ukrainian. Metallica?
dial tone, telephone.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, good God, that was the ages. So I just love these records. I still love these records. I actually didn't follow either band that much after these records. I did see Anthrax. I followed Anthrax a bit more because I did see Anthrax with Public Enemy.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Oh, cool.
That was nuts, man. That was nuts. So, but it was these 2 records, man. They weren't records. I had cassette tapes of these albums. And they probably, I hear them now. I'm like, I didn't know that guitar part was in there, because cassette tapes are just so crap quality,
Right.
and they've been lost to time.
I don't know why the hell people miss cassettes. It's beyond me.
It was easy to make a compilation.
Yeah.
With pencil.
Yeah, like, not only does the sound suck, they're incredibly inconvenient outside of portability. Because if they break, they break. It's fucking hell for no reason. I remember tapes.
Yeah.
I still have some cassette tapes now, and I'm afraid to even put them in a player because God forbid they break. You know, it's like
all I have are Weird Al tapes though, and like Monty Python.
It was back in the day, man. We do just share tapes. We'd all, and we in the back of the magazines, you'd say, you'd be bootlegs and shits, and we'd mail order tapes and send them to each other in the mail, and discover new bands that way, get European bands and stuff that way. So there's something nostalgic about it. But when you're like, let's listen to the third song, you're like, fast forward here. I
remember all of that. So I was raised with a lot of 80s like media and technology, so I remember tapes. I remember all that.
You're only 20 years old. You don't. You
can't really. I remember using.
I know you remember it, but
because they all had outdated stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like okay, boomer.
Yeah, that's all he calls me boomer all the time.
I call Wayne boomer because he's lame and likes power metal.
I like power metal.
I'm just fucking with you.
I'm in Splintered Throne,
which is another really.
Wearing my yes.
I have nothing against power metal. It's just kind of dorky.
I do. How much time you got?
Manowar.
Manowar is like 60s Batman equivalent of metal.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love it.
I can't believe they had like the tone deafness to call Bathory gay. Like, those guys just came out. Those guys came out in loincloths on stage. It's ridiculous. They look like Chippendale dancers.
The manliest band ever.
Yeah.
Looks like a porno version of Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
Springfield's gay steel mill.
The Playgirl version. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's fine.
Right.
I'm good with it. Rob Alfred, I'm good.
I love that Peter Steele posed for Playgirl thinking that women actually read that magazine. And then then he had to clarify that he's not gay.
Well, yeah, his interview about that was actually pretty interesting. I always thought he was like, yeah, don't get me wrong. It's nothing about the fact that they're gay. It's how goddamn aggressive and annoying and stalkerish they all are. It's like, dude, I'm not gay. Leave me alone. And he's like, I'm just tired of talking about it.
Man, doll'll make you holler. That's all.
He was a great interviewee.
Man.
What album do we want to start with?
You pick. What do you want to start with?
Exodus.
Fucking one of you
I wanted to say best for last.
I am. Anthrax.
Oh.
What are we starting with? Are we starting with Exodus?
Exodus, bonded by blood.
Bonded
by blood.
Exodus, bonded by blood.
Oh, fucking hell.
This album actually came out about a year after Fistful. So it's kind of interesting because, there was the Bay Area thrash scene. I don't know, you guys see that movie? Did you see that movie? Murder in the Front Row?
Yeah.
No, it was only 4 months after. I've got it pulled up right here.
Oh, it was? Okay, because I thought it was Bonded was April of 85.
No, 84.
No, Bonded by Blood came out in 85.
I got it up right here.
It was released. That's when it was recorded. That's not when it was.
Released April 25th, 1985.
1985.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Recorded fucking high ass.
So it's pretty close in time, But that record just. 83. I don't know how you want to go about this. I mean, do you want to talk about the songs on the record? Or do you want to talk about
the album in general? This is usually a shorter, so.
Yeah, it was it had that punk influence in a lot of ways. It had that raw, like Motorhead influence and Venom. It was just, in blues terms, we would say it's greasy. It's a greasy record. It's raw. Paul was not a good singer, but he was a killer frontman. He was a killer frontman, and you just believed him, even when the lyrics were like really dumb. I think
he sold that.
I think I got some of the lyrics like, and then it was way pre Me Too, man. I mean, this is like,
oh yeah,
get on our way. We're going to take your life, kick in your face, and rape and murder your wife. Like,
inspirational. I've written lyrics like that.
Yeah, it's just.
I've got an entire song called "Fuck, Kill, Destroy."
There you go. See, and it's just a sing along, happy feeling. I love, and then there were none. I love that song because everybody like, whoa,
right, yes,
whoa, and you just pound your fist and sing along. And the mosh pits for that band were just insane. People were being harmed.
That's Exodus.
Being harmed. If somebody came in there with like a rat T-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh yes, they'd probably die.
If a guy came in with like makeup and hairspray, it was like tearing his clothes off. So it was. They were part of this real hardcore scene, and I just love the album. I love the songs. A Lesson in Violence, actually, and that's the album itself. I was listening to it again, and I was noticing that it really doesn't thrash for a while until like the solo section of "And Then There Were None." It's more like boom ba boom ba bam boom ba boom ba dam boom ba dam, more like medium tempo, and then like it's like, oh, there's the thrash,
Yeah.
So
I don't know. The title track I feel is very thrashy.
I hear what Lisa's saying though, because that was one thing I thought too. It's got more in common with like traditional heavy metal on the first song.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of Whiplash, is what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
Whiplash, but it is also, kind of in the same group that like Stand Up and Shout would be as far as album openers go.
Right, but Stand Up and Shout doesn't have like a chug pattern like that.
You know what else I noticed too on the
that's more technical than I
on the first song, Bonded by Blood. The guitar solo sounds a lot like something Kirk Hammett would have done. I wonder if they used it. Yeah,
maybe.
Sounds exactly like a Kirk Hammett.
I wish they put Hell's Breath on this album originally. I fucking love that song.
I never heard it.
That's a Kirk Hammett song.
With that one.
When you work with somebody for so long, and a solo becomes like part of the song, I'm working with Splinter Throne. There's my advertising, Splinter Throne. So I'm working with them, and we're writing a new album, and we had a change of personnel, and a guitar player is on friendly terms. He split, and we got a new guitar player, but there's a couple of, solos and things that he added that, when we perform, man, we're going to do those solos because,
they're great.
They're part of the song.
They're part of the song. Yeah. So I bet you're right. I bet Kirk Hammett, I
don't know.
Some of that shit.
I always heard that Kirk wrote none of it. It was all Gary.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, if they wrote something is one thing, but if they wrote a solo, they
I don't know.
A lot of times some people just improvise, and some people like that's what I do. I just write a solo.
Me. Kirk doesn't claim to have written anything on it either, though, is the weird part.
Well, it's not far as written, but he was in the beginnings of Exodus, so I'm sure Bonded by Blood was somewhere when he was
Gary.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know
the solo had to be already written or something.
Yeah, I know part of the reason it got delayed though was actually They originally recorded Impaler for this album, and it was supposed to be on here, but Kurt took that riff with him, and Metallica turned it into Trapped Under Ice, and Ride the Lightning had come out like just before they were finished recording Bonded by Blood, which was called A Lesson in Violence at the time, actually.
Huh. I don't know. I fucking
there's a whole
Trapped
bunch of
Under
great
Ice.
albums came out that time. Well, so many great albums around that time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I really think it hurt them in the long run that the release of this was delayed so long.
Oh yeah.
I think if it wasn't,
if it came out on time.
Well, I don't know about that. I think it'd be
that or
held in a
Anthrax
higher
would have picked out.
influential regard. No, I don't think Exodus has ever been that good to be top of the
beg
heap.
to differ.
But this is a really good record, though.
It's a
Definitely very influential. It's a must-own. You can see where the beginnings and the building blocks of thrash come from. But there's a couple songs I don't like. There's a couple songs I don't like on this. They kind of get stuck in a rut, and the only interesting parts will be like the solo breaks. But and then There Were None's probably my favorite song.
Yeah. That's a killer song. I like No Love.
Very Diamond Headish, actually. And then There Were None. Yeah.
Those two are like my two least
Angel
favorite
Witch.
songs on this album.
Yeah,
Well, what are your
very
favorite
similar
ones?
to like White Witch, kind of how that song builds
Right.
up. Yeah.
Right. I just don't like the fact that it has to build up, but I love the fast parts of those songs.
Well, what are your favorite songs, Nate?
Oh, title track, Metal Command, Strike of the Beast, Lesson in Violence, Piranha.
Oh, so pretty much the whole.
The Exodus. Basically everything that aren't those two tracks and Deliver Us to Evil.
Yeah. Strike of the Beast. That is just
Strike of the Beast.
Awesome. Up, thrash. Get out of the pit. You are going to die. Yeah.
You think that's bad? You should see him now when they play the Toxic Waltz. That's the fucking thrash. That's the pit anthem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some things. I'm small, and there's some songs when I hear there's some beats, and I hear that beat, and I know I'm gonna die if I don't get the fuck out of there.
Oh yeah. And I love Exodus's later career almost as much as I love this album. Like, I think this album would be even better if they re-recorded it with, like, Zetro, because I love Zetro.
Oh, yeah.
He can sing.
He's vicious like Paul, but he's competent. And he can enunciate, and he's got a really rapid-fire vocal style that I love.
See, Paul, like Lisa was saying, I feel is awesome live, but you really, really hear some of his limitations on this album, and it kind of hurts the songs. Yeah. I mean, I didn't care when I was younger. It was raw, and that was fucking awesome, but wow, I wish he knew how to conduct himself in the studio better when they did this.
Well, he's probably doing it all fucked up on whatever he's on at the time.
And they all were fucked up. And they all admit it even now. You know,
the vocals get
everybody was
by that.
Yeah. Well, obviously, he didn't make it, you know.
Right.
He didn't make it.
Whereas Zetro, all he does is smoke weed all day, so he's kind of just laid back.
It's like Willie Nelson will live to be 96.
Right.
Years.
Exactly.
Or what's the guy from Rolling Stones? Keith Richards.
Richards.
He's still alive. I mean, come on.
Pretty fucking sure he's a Nosferatu at this point.
Gotta be.
Oh, I think he's a corpse that they're just. I think he's a corpse they've just wired with like electricity and they jolt it to make him move.
That's why Jeffrey Coombs was at that concert.
He kind of moves like that.
He's an
reanimate me.
Yeah, when I got into Exodus, Zetro was singing. It was Toxic Waltz. I mean, that was my favorite Exodus album. Yeah. So when I finally got to this Bonded by Blood album, I was kind of a little thrown off because the vocals are different. I'm more a Zetro fan than I am a Paul.
Oh, yeah. Fan. Paul could not do something like Verbal Razors.
No, he couldn't do that stuff.
I heard this one first, actually, though.
Me too.
Well, I would feel different if I heard this first, but this is like one of my least favorite albums. There are still good songs, "Bonded by Blood," and then there were none. I love that, like we were talking before with that oh thing. That's pretty cool. That makes that song, A Lesson in Violence, Metal Command.
I like the riffs and the solo in it the best.
Yeah, the riffs are the highlight of this album. There really isn't a bad riff.
No,
yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The only one I think is kind of boring is Piranha. I mean, that song's okay, but
it bounces around like that. I love that.
It's a utilitarian mosh pit song. It doesn't really have much for it, but it's got the groove and it gets your feet itching
real quick.
Yeah, but I mean, there are so many other songs on this record I would elevate over that as far as legendary status, like Metal Command or Strike of the Beast. A little too much emphasis put on that particular song for me.
Strike of the Beast, definitely Paul's best performance on the album.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the only time he does a scream and his voice doesn't crack, actually.
Right.
To think of it.
And the only other thing I don't like about his vocals on this, it's very echoey. I don't like that effect that they put on his vocals.
Lisa, do you remember the Ultimate Revenge video?
The next album.
When they played songs from this live at Studio 54, and he is just fucking hammered. I mean, he tears it up. But
I don't know. I've seen that time ago. I don't know if I've seen that, man.
It's probably
There's some
on
shit
YouTube.
I missed. I'm unfrozen cave woman. I miss everything.
Paul Bailoff is actually all right in the late 90s when they had him.
He came back.
Yeah, they probably would have kept him if he didn't die,
Yeah, they were going to. They were going to put out an album with him.
Right, and then we got Zetro for an album, and Tempo of the Damned is such a fucking great album. Especially in 2000s thrash.
Yeah. Why did you give up on Exodus so fast, Lisa?
I think it was because I was a burgeoning vocalist and bass player. So I started, and like you said, maybe it's the vocals. I mean, for me, some bands were like mosh pit bands, and these are bands that I want to go see. And there are other bands that are like, I want to listen to them. I want to play along with them. So I really started listening more to Maiden with Bruce Dickinson and Dio and, singing. I was really into Manowar. I was really into Manowar. I was really into Eric Adams and singing along and playing along with all that shit. So So that's the main thing is it's just what was I focusing on playing and singing.
You listen to Forbidden?
That's why I kind of went to that. Forbidden?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, great Bay Area band.
Twisted into form.
Twisted into form and Chalice or Forbidden Evil.
It's called Forbidden Evil. Yeah,
I keep thinking it's called Chalice of Blood. I don't know why.
No, that's just the first
I'm
track.
just high as shit.
Yeah.
But really into Priest.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Like Death Angel, but 10 times better.
Okay.
Priest, stained class.
Oh, I was totally into that. Well,
that's what I liked about Forbidden, because they were thrash, but they also his vocals were very operatic, and he was singing. He wasn't like a grunter or anything. He sang the songs.
Right, but the riff still fucking rip.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah, and you probably like him, Lisa. I'll send you a video. You'll on YouTube or something.
Cool.
All right, next album, Anthrax, Fistful of Metal.
Fistful of Metal. Well, this is a great Metal Church album, and this is a great Metallica album. It's not really an Anthrax album yet.
To me, it's like a Judas Priest on speed. I hear so much Judas Priest in this record. But I love this record. It's a cleaner record. Compared to Bonded, I mean, the guy still wasn't the best singer on the planet. It was Neil Turbin.
Neil Turbin, yeah.
We used to call him Neil Turdbin.
Oh, by the way, Neil Turbin, you follow me on Twitter. Fuck you for firing Danny Lilker.
Like, dude, I'll bring that up in a minute. I have a story about that.
We got Lilker stories, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Danny.
Danny's my
Fucking-
favorite member of Anthrax. That
I
like,
rode with him
ever.
on his bus for like a couple days one time. I gave him a bunch of acid. He was out with nuclear assault. I don't really remember what happened, but we did a lot of LSD.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's great, man.
I love Scott Ian too.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, man, he's the backbone of this, and it's
Oh,
cool
yeah.
looking back at these old videos of him, you know, with his hair and no
yeah.
shirt. You got
Right.
this little
He's
pipsqueak
not the
with
great
his hairy
Baldino
chest.
yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Just
That
kinda
just that
standing there
one
and-
little lone patch of hair.
Like, it's just so typically like small Jewish kid, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's great, man. So you know, I think this album, you know, they hadn't quite become the Anthrax that we know. There's a
Right.
couple of songs on there, like the song Anthrax to me sounds
Panic.
more like Anthrax
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Panic, yeah.
Panic's
That
my
song's a
favorite song
kick
on the album.
bass. It's a
Oh,
kick
yeah.
bass, man. That song.
But then it goes
And
into
it
that
has-
Maiden-esque harmony in like 2/3 of the way in.
That's totally Priest to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Priest.
yeah.
Maiden,
That
priest,
solo
whatever.
section.
Similar.
It's kind of Megadethy in a way.
Yeah, a little bit.
There's a little,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
kind of that.
is. Yeah, a little bit.
And it's like, and Death from Above is like got
Oh,
that
yeah.
dissident.
Jet
kind of
fighter!
thing.
Jet
Yeah, Jet
fighter!
Fighter!
It's got the-
Jet fighter! Oh yeah, Death from Above. You can sing along. There's a lot of great
Yeah.
sing along shit in there.
Well, overall,
Yeah.
I think Fistful has the more memorable songs, partially because of the way it's written. But yeah, this is almost. I mean, I get what makes it a thrash album and what makes it so influential, but this is more speed metal to me
Right.
than
I think
anything.
so,
Like
too.
Lisa was saying.
They were actually they used to call it speed metal, and it's like, and then I was like, now there's no such thing as speed metal. I'm like, what do you call it? That's
Yeah.
what we fucking called it, man.
But
But
like,
actually,
I think it's more a style like crossover is than an actual subgenre.
yeah, but like the
That's how I
first
see it.
Abattoir album, Vicious Attack. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I've always heard of that as speed metal. Now they're calling it thrash. Whatever.
Oh yeah, and
But you know
Exciter
how-
and Metal
I-
Church and all that.
I found out why they call it thrash metal, and it was because of the song "Metal Thrashing Mad." And there was a writer that worked for Kerrang! Magazine, and he's the one. He was doing a review. He was talking about the song "Metal Thrashing Mad," and he called it thrash metal, and it stuck. Now I'm like, okay, yeah. So
Cool.
I was like, that makes sense. So in a way, they kind of like named Anthrax, kind of named thrash metal,
Yeah.
Well, that's
even
pretty
though they were
good.
like the outliers, you know, way out in the East Coast.
Mm.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny. People make the coast comparison a lot, but really, you know, Exodus, they're pretty Bay Area. If you really listen to
Yeah.
Bonded by Blood and really think about it, pretty similar to Feel the Fire by Overkill. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I get it
Not-
was two.
not
I
time.
get it was two different scenes, but I never because when I started getting this stuff, I loved everything. I didn't
gets-
make a fucking dividing line. That's stupid to me. It's
It
not
gets
that
more
different.
different around the 86 is the real turnaround in thrash where it explodes into different things.
Yeah.
I know this, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's where the difference in the scenes really kicked in. Because then you started adding in like Nuclear Assault and like SOD, and New York got much more of a punk street feel as a result.
Well,
And-
you know who was part of those bands though is Dan Lilker.
Right.
Yep.
Because
So,
he's fucking
look at-
awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm looking on the back of the
So-
Fistful of Metal album, and I'm seeing like who wrote the songs and stuff. And Dan Lilker, and then there's Rosenfeld. Who the hell's Rosenfeld?
I think that's
Scott
Scotty
Ian's
and,
real name is
Yeah.
Scott
Oh,
Rosenfeld.
Scotty
Yeah, I
and
know that.
Roosevelt.
Didn't
It's a
know.
nice Jewish boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boy.
We're celebrating Passover.
And now
Don't
everyone
forget
calls
to
him
put the
the,
lamb's blood on the door.
and now everyone in his neighborhood calls him the Great Baldino.
really,
Yep,
I love it.
that's awesome.
What do you got
It's
there,
weird
Wayne?
seeing him with hair.
I'm just
It's
waiting
just
to get in
weird.
there.
Get in
Just
there,
waiting to,
Wayne.
waiting to
It's
find
your
my spot,
fucking
you know?
show.
I know.
It's your
Everybody's
fucking
talking
show.
But yeah, when I became an Anthrax fan not until way later on when John Bush joined the band.
Okay.
So I had to work my way all the way back. So I had to go back to Persistence of Time, which was probably my favorite Anthrax album. And then I heard Howling Furies on a college radio station. And I'm like, that's a pretty cool
Another
song.
great song.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, who the hell is that? Because I want to know what album that's off of. You know, I really
Especially
want to get that song.
with Across the River leading into it.
Yeah, and it's awesome. So then when the guy came on and said who it was, I'm like, there's no way that's Anthrax. I mean, who the hell's that vocalist? I never heard this before, you know?
Right.
So then I finally did get to find the album, and, you know, I find out it's a whole new Anthrax album I've never heard of, never even knew it existed before.
Right.
So
of
it was,
all the classic Anthrax albums, this is probably the least listened to.
yeah, of course it is. But it's actually grown on me over the years because when I first heard it, I'm like, this kind of sucks because there's really the vocalist is terrible. I mean, I got used to it over the years too, but when I first heard it coming from Joey Belladonna and even John Bush, it's just, he's bad. All right.
Here's my take on it: is the guy was like almost there, man. He was almost there,
right.
And the problem was. Later on, I saw an interview with the guy, and he was saying, well, you know, they were working on this album for a month, and then they only gave me 3 days to sing all the vocals on the record, so I didn't have enough time. And I'm kind of like, well, I probably fucking sang all the songs on my record in 3 days. You know what? You sing all those songs in one set.
No, he's a conceited douchebag.
So what's the problem? I think he was just young. He was inexperienced. He wasn't as good a singer then as he is now. He didn't have good vocal technique. He's trying to do all this Judas Priest shit, and he was not hitting it. And back then, man, they were cutting tape. Yeah. They were cutting tape. There was no fucking Pro Tools. They weren't going to cut and paste your better take. You got to get in there and kick ass. And he just wasn't capable at that time. And I wish he would just say, I was younger, I wasn't as good at it, and that's why it is what it is. No. But sometimes, man, some of them screams, though.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, yeah, and oh my God, he can hold them forever. Yeah. Holy shit.
And so it's funny because it's funny because I was listening to this again earlier, and I'm like, he sounds almost a little bit like Eric Adams from Man of War, just a little bit.
So. I think in some instances it's fucking uncanny sometimes.
Yeah.
But kind of reminds me of Defenders of the Faith.
Yeah, a little bit. But I was just a little upset because the music was awesome. You know, the music was there, but the vocals just kind of killed it for me. But like I said, over the years, these songs became classics to me. You know, and even hearing them re-record a lot of these songs, even with Joey and John Bush, they're even better now, I think. But it's still a classic album, regardless of the ugly album cover. It's very stupid. There's so many great songs. The beginning of Death Rider with that like fast forward thing, and then it kicks right into the song.
Yeah, Death Rider is cool, but the fact that it's like a ripoff of Hit the Lights kind of kills a little bit of it for me.
It's better than Hit the Lights.
I don't really see it as a ripoff. I mean, they all were written and came out around the same time. You know,
it's the same. It's got
and they were friends anyway, so it's like, you know, of course they had to influence each other.
Yeah.
But the other thing about this album too is the Alice Cooper cover. I'm 18.
It's good, cover. But I hate that it's in the middle of the album. So it covers to the end of the album.
It should be a B-side. It's in a bad spot. But anyway, I'm going to take that opportunity to lead into the Dan Lilker story before I fucking forget it, because it actually goes along with part of what Lisa was saying. You know, this big reason that Neil always gives and gave to Scott Ian that he fired Dan Lilker for was because it took him 20 takes to record the bass line for I'm 18, which sounds really bad if you don't know the story behind it. And a big part of it is they were all about 19, 20, 21 years old, had never been into a studio before. They had Carl Kennedy from the Rods helping them as the producer, but they didn't really know what they wanted to sound like. And Neil was constantly changing shit to fit his vocals. So Danny said I had to do 20 takes because he kept changing things. So no, I couldn't get it right because he kept changing his mind as to what he wanted it to sound like.
Mm-hmm.
to make it fit Anthrax. But according to Scott and Danny, the real reason Neil wanted to get rid of him is because Danny was taller than him and he felt it showed him up.
Yeah, that sounds like a very Neil Turbin reason.
Nobody should be taller than the front man, is
Reminds me of
exactly
Steve
what he said to
Harris.
Scotty.
For fuck's sake.
God, he's such a conceited douchebag.
Well,
Yeah.
I also heard that Eddie Trunk had something to do with the lead singer, with Neil Turbin being let go. That Eddie Trunk was complaining and like giving shit reviews because of the vocals. That I love the band, I love everything about the band, I just don't like your vocalist. So
I don't know. I always like the vocals,
I heard there was some
to be honest.
pressure, you know.
At least Eddie Trunk did something good for a change.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Write a book.
I don't know if it was necessarily in his reviews, just because I'm not a big Eddie Trunk fan, but I do remember that he was influential on Johnny Z of them getting rid of Neil.
Yeah.
Dude, I was reading the back of my CD cover. I had the 1994 edition. But, fucking Eddie Trunk helped fucking get the CD made for this.
Oh yeah, he helped them get on Megaforce.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I think they formed in like 79 or 80. They had been around for a few years. Yeah, he was good friends with, I know, Scott, at least.
Okay.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, can we talk about how good the drumming is on this?
Another big problem that Neil Turbin had with Danny Loker is during this era of Anthrax, he got everybody to wear leather, like Judas Priest type clothes, except for Danny. Danny was like, "Fuck you, that's stupid. I'm wearing a t-shirt and jeans."
And Danny was right.
He was right. Especially you come to the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, just wear a t-shirt, man.
What were you saying about the drums, Nate?
The drumming is awesome on this album.
Yeah.
It's probably the second best drumming of the Big Four debut.
Yeah.
Because Charlie is using way more double kick and complicated technique
yeah.
than Dave Lombardo is. Dave's
He's
playing faster sometimes, but Andy tracked the cymbals separately. So there's that. But
And it was
Charlie's
loud.
just- oh, wow.
In a mix. The drums
Right.
were loud in the mix.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Great bass playing too.
Danny sounds great.
Frank Bello's
Great.
great, but Danny Loker is always the best bass player of Anthrax.
It's very
Frank Bellows, yeah.
Maiden, very Steve Harris.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
big time.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Charlie's one of my huge influences, so hearing him play drums on any album is,
Oh,
fun.
yeah. He's kick-ass.
But,
This was, I think, my first full Anthrax album too, because cassette at the time, actually. Yeah, I got Armed and Dangerous, and then I loved that, so I ran back and got this.
Yeah.
And was a little upset
This is
Joey
awesome.
wasn't on it at first, but I got over it. And then Among the Living, and I went on.
I love
from there.
Among the Living.
It's great Reagan.
I like Among the Living a lot, but I like
It's
Spreading
such
the
a
Disease
great A-side.
and State of Euphoria more.
me too.
Spreading
But
the
he-
Disease is better spread, like as a better song arrangement, but I just like Among the Living songs. I like the better songs of Among the Living more.
Somebody else agreed with you.
Like,
Even though you don't like the I'm 18, that kind of led me to go listen more to Alice Cooper.
I
Because
like it.
Anthrax
It's just in
played,
the wrong place
covered
on
the
the
song.
album.
It is, right?
Oh, yeah.
I
I mean,
heard
it's
it
not
was
a
a
bad
source of
cover.
contention.
It's actually an alright cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
It's
I heard
just,
that-
I don't like where it is. I'm sorry, Lisa.
Well, the band was pissed. I was reading that the band was not happy about it, and basically it was a decision that was made kind of at the behest of the record company. What was the name? It was because it's like Combat, but also
Megaforce.
Oh, that was Megaforce. That's right. They were Megaforce, and they wanted to have a cover because attract attention to this new band and this new outfit. But
Right.
there was a couple of band members. I think there was somebody didn't even play on it. I think maybe Dan Spitz didn't even play on it because he was like, "This sucks. I don't want to do it. If you guys want to do it, fine, but count me out." He thought it was cheesy, you know, and it doesn't sound right. It's like it seems like they should have picked something else. Because
Right.
It's like, I mean, it's anthemic in a way, but it just seemed out of place.
Out of place, yeah. It just didn't
Out of
fit
place.
with the rest of the song.
I could live with it if it was at the end of the album.
Right. But all
That's where
Howling,
you put
Howling,
the cover songs. Exodus.
but
fucking
Howling
Lowrider.
Furies is like the best ending for this album, you know? It's a really cool song. It's not thrashy, it's just a kind of, you know, rock song or metal song. But it's still cool.
Panic is the best song on this album. I love that song.
I like Subjugator.
Subjugator's great too.
I love Subjugator.
Panic is. I love that opening.
Yeah.
So mean.
Yeah. Drums. Up your
Yeah,
ass.
the whole album's pretty good. All right, so let's recap. From a scale from 1 to 10, Lisa, what are you going to give Exodus Bonded by Blood?
I didn't know this was going to be a scale. It wasn't going to be a test, man. I don't know. I don't know how I can score something like that. I would say, you know, if Paul could like sing a note, you know, I would have given this album a fucking 10.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll give it a 9.
Oh, wow.
I'll give it a 9.5. I just think
You love it that much, huh?
there's something about this album that just makes it's the itch. It's the itch.
It's between
It's
the
the
guitar
mosh
playing
pit.
and Tom Hunting or Todd Hunting.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
fucking
And
drumming.
the thing is, there's something about the energy. It's the mojo. This album
Right.
has a mojo
And the
to it.
beat is so tight.
And the beat is so tight, and there's just it's like, because I would be on the edge of the pit, you know, because that's what I did with my weekends as a youth. I just fucking lived in mosh pits, and I would just, I gotta go, you know, that, I'm in, you know,
Right,
I'm
it's
like,
that
hey,
true feeling of
yeah.
speed, even with a mid-paced song.
Yes. So there was just something you can't, and it's bigger than the sum of its parts.
They
So
do that
that's
again
why-
in Verbal Razors. Is a good example. Like
I gotta check
it's a
out
slow
that.
beat, but
Yeah.
it's played with such a great groove that it just
Yeah.
zigzags everywhere.
Yeah. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
why I'm so crazy about it.
That's high up there. Greg.
Like it a lot. Definitely a classic and a must own, but 7.5. Can't give it any more than that.
Nate.
10.
Jesus Christ. 10. Damn.
You gotta own this album. If you
It's
don't
a
own this album.
must-own.
You gotta own this. This is essentially
It's
few
a
songs
must
it
own.
has
It's
are
essential.
overpowered
But the
by
thing,
what's great.
the thing that drives me nuts about a lot of these rating systems is just because something is really good and something is essential does not mean it's a 10 out of 10 perfect record all the time.
I think
That's
it is
what
a 10 out of
everybody
10
reference.
perfect record. It's
That's
a record
fine.
you
I'm not
can
a
listen
reviewer.
to endlessly. It's a
Yeah.
record I can listen to endlessly.
I listened to it when I was making breakfast this morning, and I'm
Right.
around. I'm like stirring up the eggs. Like,
I listened to
Yeah.
the original and the re-record today, just because they're that little bit different enough where I can listen to it again.
yeah.
Because that's how good the fucking rhythm work is.
I give it a 5. Sorry.
Ow!
Wow.
I give it a 5.
No,
Yeah, I'm going to give it a
the
5.
good shit is too
Sorry.
good to give it a 5.
There's not enough variety on there for me. If it was a little bit more variety, and
Why
I
are
could
you looking for
differentiate
variety?
because their older albums do have variety, like Toxic Waltz and all that shit. There is variety in those albums.
It's fast, loud, bang music.
No, I understand. that. And then
It's
Paul
like go out
Bay,
and kill shit.
and then Paul's vocals just they don't do it for me. So
Yeah,
I
if
don't
he
know. I
sang
like
better,
his
it'd
rhythm.
be an 8.
if he sang better, or if Zetro sang it instead, then
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I would have
If
ranked it way
Zetro
higher.
sang it, it'd be like an 11 out of 10. Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, but not a bad
Okay,
album at all.
Nigel.
Not a bad album at all.
I mean, the fact
No, I
that
like
you can
And it's a
collaborate
classic.
different videos online
Uh-huh.
to make it so Zetro sings the album, then boom. You don't have to try very hard to make it with Zetro singing it. Or if you like Rob Dukes better, that's who's on the re-record.
Yeah, he's all right. I still would rather.
He's okay.
Zetro.
He's like if Paul Bailoff kind of knew what he was
Right.
doing.
Yeah. And I also forgot to ask you, Lisa, since you said you left Exodus after that first album, well, why did you leave Anthrax? Because with Joey Belladonna, he was more of a vocalist, that you would be into, I would think.
Yeah, I did and I didn't. Belladonna, I like Belladonna, but Belladonna wasn't, I like that operatic shit.
Yeah.
I just like that operatic stuff. I like more gothic kind of stuff. I love the band. My friends had the records and we'd listen to the records together and stuff, And then when they came on tour, I was fucking there. When they came to town, I was there. But I wasn't like, I'm going to sit at home and listen to this at that point because, like I said, I was more into, I'd rather be listening to Dio. That was more my thing then. So,
okay, I get that.
What about the John Bush era?
Maybe I just missed it. I don't know.
He's
I was always
you didn't miss much.
You really didn't.
I was working, and as a bass player, I also kind of went into this phase where I was listening to like a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers and Level 42 and Mark King, and I was getting into, slapping and popping, and I went through these phases, and of course I was in Seattle in the 90s, so we were listening to Soundgarden and all that shit too. So it was like. And then I got into the blues, started working in blues in the late 90s. And so I just went on these, like I said, I'm the unfrozen cave woman. So there's this whole period of time, like in the 1990s, where I was focusing on other shit, So that's like, I had this like metal reawakening. So there's all this like that Pantera era, that kind of like where they were kind of holding the ground while everybody else was going, Nirvana's killing us, man. So, I was doing other shit.
Yeah.
It is kind of amazing how Pantera almost single-handedly for about 5 years held metal at a number one. And I fucking love Pantera.
Sound of White Noise, though, you have to give that a shot.
It's
one of my favorite
mediocre.
Anthrax albums.
John
It's one of
Bush
my
is better
favorite
than Armored Saint.
He is, but...
Armored Saint, that was a cool band.
Yeah.
But that was my introduction to Anthrax.
Anthrax, and then they become an alt-rock band.
It was, yes, the first time was great, though. But anyway,
Maybe
this ain't about that album.
transition.
Yes.
All right.
What are we giving Anthrax? Fistful of Metal.
I'll give it an 8.
I wasn't talking to you.
You said we. You said we.
You give it an 8, okay.
I will give it an 8 as well. And the issues that I had with some of these some of the songs on the album, they sounded unfinished to me.
Really?
There are some songs that don't have a chorus. They literally don't fucking have a chorus. And so they're cool, but as far as when it comes to like the vocal area and the sing-along and all that stuff, and even, what is there, like Across the River, that instrumental that's in there?
Right.
It's like, it sounds like they were trying to write a song and then they went, I don't know, I was recorded
Soldiers
anyway.
of Metal is a really good example of that. The chorus line is weird. It sounds like they pieced it together.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
Slayer like that too, though.
But it's a great fucking album. I mean, it's riffs. It's riffs.
Right.
It's riffs.
Refs.
It's thrash. Yeah, and it's still got one foot in Iron Maiden and Angel Witch and Diamond Head. It's still got one foot in that territory, but it's starting to turn into what later would become known as extreme metal. So, I will give it maybe an 8.5. I just think it's just important historically. It's a moment in time.
Wow. You gave him one more than I did. I gave it a 7.
And people say Dave Mustaine wrote all the songs on Kill 'Em All. Danny Lilker wrote all the fucking songs on this album.
On this one, yep.
Really?
Like,
he actually
he's like on
did
8 of the 10. He's like writing credits are like on 8 of the 10 songs.
He helped Scott Ian write the music to 8 out of 10 of them, and
one of those is Alice Cooper. That isn't his.
Despite what Neil Turbin says, though, the only thing he ever wrote on this album was lyrics.
Right.
Well, he wrote the lyrics and he wrote the melodies to the lyrics. That literally is 50%. But the thing is he's kind of bitter because, I mean, some bands, they will say, we write as a team. Everybody gets 20% of the writing credit. And that was the deal that he signed up for. And now he's regretting it because technically, if you write the lyrics and the vocal melody, even if you just write the lyrics, you get 10 or 50% of the publishing of that song. So but that's not the deal that he signed up for. So he can't complain about that.
Well, the thing is,
you should have thought about that then.
It's like the lyrics and the vocal melodies aren't as important in this kind of music anyway.
I think they are. Sometimes that's what you remember, you know.
Yep. I mean, sometimes it is.
To the floor. I can hear the engine roar.
Oh, yeah.
Got thunder in my head. That's what you remember, man.
See,
there's even
that's what the
lyrics
Exodus
that I
album was
remember
missing.
that aren't even like singing.
Yeah.
Like I remember Phobophobia by Violence all the time because it's just it's the vocal pattern equivalent to falling down 3 flights of stairs.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, pretty much all my favorite thrash records are because of the weird or outside the box shit they're doing on them. Like, I think Voivod's Killing Technology is the greatest thrash metal album ever released, and behind that probably Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? But I mean, they're really off the wall in comparison to the beginnings of it.
And see, I don't like Peace Sells nearly as much as I like Killing Is My Business.
I love them both, but
I like Peace Sells, and maybe if I had a better mixed version of the CD than the modern remaster, I'd probably like it more.
Yeah.
I have the Japanese first press of the CD. It uses the original mix. I also have the original Megaforce mix that Paul Dini did, and it sounds almost completely different from the official version.
Bring that next time we go pick up.
Sure. It's cool to hear, but I would don't spend money on it to seek it out without hearing it, is what I will say there.
No. Mine
it's more
sounds like
interesting than
What do you give an Anthrax, Greg? You know, I wanted to give your
8.
Wow, that's a really close one.
How about 8?
Yeah, honestly, they would be completely even. Anthrax just gets that little half-point edge just because Neil's a better defined singer than Paul.
Yeah, but I don't think really singing would work in something like Exodus. Like, Zetro doesn't even sing.
No, but for example, with Coroner, they're one of my favorite bands ever. Their lyrics are great and Ron's vocals are great, but that's not my primary concern with them. But even their rhythm lines and shit are really interesting during the different parts of the song, and Exodus kind of loses that at some points throughout their career.
The thing about Paul Bailoff, though, and there's something about it, and in blues, there's a lot of that, too. There's a lot of performers that maybe they're not really singing on key, and maybe, their rhythm is a little off, but there's just something that it's the truth.
Great.
And there's something about Paul Bailoff that just, his vocals were so honest, and he did not give a fuck. And he did not sound like he was trying. He wasn't trying too hard. I think that's one thing I did. I think that for Fistful, I think the vocals were like almost there, but it almost sounded like he was trying a little too hard. And it's just like, just sing the song, man.
Right. So, he's trying too hard to be spectacular.
Yes. And just missing the mark. Just going flat on some of the screens and stuff. But it's like with that Bonded by Blood, man, you just feel like they're in a moment. They're just in a moment. And it's just full of fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's chock full of fuck yeah.
Well, I
Pardon
suppose
I have a potty mouth. I'm
it's all right.
sorry.
It's okay. We do that on this show. It's not a show for children, so it's okay. But the winner is Exodus, right? Everybody.
Woo!
Yeah,
Exodus.
seems that way.
Yeah. But go check both of the albums out, everybody. They're both excellent albums, so it's worth checking out. I guess that's it for tonight. And Lisa, one more time, White Crone. Where can people buy it?
Bandcamp. whitecrone.bandcamp.com. Also, musicmillennium.com. Also, iTunes, Spotify. Please add me on Spotify. Because those algorithms matter. And every time I get 0.0018 cents, I'm just that much closer to buying a new car.
Watch out, Metallica.
It's so sad. And if you also buy the album on Bandcamp, Lisa will sign the album for you, just like she did for mine, if you can see it on there. She signed the CD.
I will.
It's very cool. And you also have T-shirts and patches as well.
I do. Although I can't reorder T-shirts right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the COVIDs. Damn.
The Rona.
That sucks.
The Rona.
That's what everybody's
That's
calling
what
it now.
everyone I know calls
I
it.
like how there's a bro nickname for it already.
The Rona.
dude.
Yep.
What?
It rolls off the
shit.
tongue.
Wait, were you at that Maniacal Force show where I was all hammered and I punched that kid in the mouth?
You got to see Maniacal Force? That's fucking awesome.
Oh, I've seen them 3 or 4 times. I got hammered with them dudes on a couple occasions. They're pretty cool. But God, what did this kid say that pissed me off? Oh, he called James Hetfield Papa Het. I just went, wham!
Oh, I love Papa Hat.
No, don't say that. You're
He's a
fired.
grandpa.
That's it.
He's in his 50s
Whoa,
now.
Greg fired
He's
you.
in his
Holy
50s
shit.
now. Bro, he's in his 50s
He's old
now.
enough to be a dad. He could be a
Yeah,
dad.
you're forgetting, I grew up with, like, old James Hetfield.
Yeah, that's true.
That's fine,
So
but
you
we
used
don't
to it.
talk like fraternity douchebags here, so no Papa Het.
I don't know, James was kind of a fraternity douchebag for quite a bit.
Listen, save it for the Wasps. I don't want to hear it.
Wasp.
That meant.
Goddamn yuppies.
Anyway, please go to ratsoundreview.com. Check out all of our shows. We have a plethora of shows to check out. Old Man Metal, the Right Opinion Podcast. Greg, help me out.
Vieira Vault.
Vieira Vault.
Suck My Balls, a South
right.
Park podcast.
Suck My Balls.
You're going to be on
right.
that show. When are you going on there?
We're going to record it this weekend. It should be next Wednesday's show.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So give that a look. See
Subscribe.
Where we talk about the
Subscribe.
case of the chicken fucker. And now, live with the report on the chicken fucker, we go to a midget in a bikini.
Tom,
my
government
God.
workers here are assuring everyone nothing out of the ordinary has happened. They claim that the only reason huge tents have gone up to cover this area is to mask the construction of a new Taco Bell.
Oh, man. Yeah, so please
Jeez
go check out
Louise.
all of our... Oh, Lou Mavs is on our network as well. He was on our show. Well, he's going to be on our show. That's going to be next, following this episode. So yeah, go check out all of our stuff, and we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Next AVA.
Yeah, we're going to have to...
What?